I'm Cayman Jason. This is the way I see it. Welcome to Starfish Point. We're going to be shooting some over-unders today with our models, Halsey and Fred. I've sent them out to collect some starfish, so they're wandering around in this beautiful greenish Caribbean water today. It's nice and flat though. So when we're ready to go, we're gonna set up over here behind us. We're gonna try to get all the other boats and everything else out of the shot, and let's go. So this was a really fun shoot out here hanging out with these guys. It was a good time. I've got Fred up here first, and I'm going to shoot an over-under with her in front of the starfish. And the water's really green, and I was able to actually use that to my advantage a little bit. You know, you sort of have to take advantage of the situation and do the best with it as you can. So what I did was I shot her over-under with these couple of these starfish, and the starfish are sort of secondary as subjects. But what I really like is the green and the blue sky. So what I did was I pulled up the saturation on the blue and the green a little bit, and that really made the image pop. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. It was kind of difficult visibility-wise. Now this second image is a little bit more freeform. So Fred's posing underwater here, and I'm clicking away here, and you can actually hear my my camera go, 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 go. And I wasn't super happy with the color, so what I did was I turned this into black and white, and I wanted to take this moment to just mention that when I pull my images into black and white, I don't hit convert to grayscale. I don't use any of those automatic settings. What I do is I desaturate the colors, and that way I'm able to manipulate the luminosity of the different colors in the image, and that's sort of what I did here. Now in this image, this is probably my favorite image of the shoot. In this image, what I did specifically was I used the effects in Photoshop CC. It's called dehaze, and what I did was I just pushed the slider all the way up and dehaze, and then I manipulated the luminosity of the colors in the image. And I love the outcome of this image. This is probably my favorite shot, and it's a little bit artsy, but hey man, whatever floats your boat, right? So you can see by the video here that the water was very turbid this day, so it made it a challenge. And it's underwater photography. That's the fun of it though, right? If it was easy to do, then who wants to do it if it's easy? So you'll notice that on my rig I'm not shooting any strobes, and there's no reason for me to try to add any fill light to this water with all this sand in it, because all I'm going to do is end up illuminating the sand and creating a massive mess to try to clean up in post. So it's best to just use your camera and do a nice custom white balance, and then fire the camera with the ambient light. And this was an over-under that I chose, and I like this image. And again, what I've done is I've desaturated the water in the sky, and I've just left Halsey right there, dead center of the image. And I love the effect of this. I love the sharpness of the edge of the water in the front of the lens. And for me, this was a keeper. So part of the fun with shooting freedivers or shooting models underwater is, you know, just having fun with it, and you know, playing it up a little bit. And the girls were just kind of swimming around and doing their thing, and that gives me an opportunity as a photographer to sort of get in position and play with the light, and then just try to capture the moment as I see it. And I like this image. It's really fun. As you can see, the water was, the farther you got out toward the drop off, the greener the water got, and it was really green here. So what I did was, again, was I played on it a little bit. I pulled the saturation up a little bit on the green, I pulled the saturation up on the blue, and those two colors just popped together. So I really like this image. It's not something that, you know, I typically shoot, but I think she's well represented in the image. I love the Cressy mask. I love here's another trick that I use. When I shoot models underwater, I always put them in a mirrored mask, because if the eye is looking the wrong way in the photograph, oftentimes it can ruin the image. So I really prefer putting models in mirrored masks. So this was the last shot of the day, and it's a really playful image. I like it a lot. And I was really lucky that the clouds were so funky in the background. I don't know. Sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good. But the sky really makes it. So again, you know, I've got the green bottom and the blue sky. So I played with the saturation a little bit, pulled up the saturation in the blue, pulled up the saturation in the green, and I've got this nice split level image. So she goes right through the water line goes right through the center of the image. And I'll just mention that this shot is f/14 at 1/100th of a second, ISO 100. And I like to shoot my over-unders with a higher f-stop. And that gives me the ability to have the peace of mind that everything is going to be sort of in focus. Oftentimes, if you shoot a shallow depth of field on an over-under, if the camera's not completely level, it can grab the water before your subject or beside your subject, and then you get this sort of soft image. So, and especially the way that I shoot, where I just, you know, fire away. And to be honest, it's difficult sometimes to see if the image is totally in focus through the underwater housing.
So we got some good shots today, I think. We did some over-unders. Halsey here did some amazing yoga poses. As you can see here, she's got her friend, Joey, the starfish.
Yeah.
And all in all, I think we did a pretty good job. What did you think of Starfish Beach?
I think it's a beautiful place. It's been amazing. And you know what? Jason gives fantastic direction, so he's really easy to work with, and it's been a great morning. Fantastic. Like all my starfish.
Welcome to the west side of Grand Cayman. We're out here on a dive boat called Juggernaut with my favorite dive company, Ambassador Divers. And today I want to talk to you guys about lighting your scene underwater. Now, if you're an underwater photographer or a videographer, you basically have three options to light your scene in the sea. The first one is going to be ambient light or natural light, and that's the one that I always prefer. So what a lot of people don't understand is that when you're diving and you're taking images, whether it's still images or video, what you're trying to recreate is that natural feel of the water. And the ambient light is always going to be your best option. Now, here in the Cayman Islands, where we have 100-foot plus visibility, we've got a lot of sun typically out during the daytime. In the early morning light, in the early morning hours, the light's nice and soft. In the late hours of the day, the light's nice and soft. It gets a little bit harsh sort of midday. But that ambient light or that natural light is always going to be your best option for me for underwater photography. Now, that means a good custom white balance. That means typically an open aperture. That means maybe a little bit of a slower shutter speed or maybe a little bit more ISO. But with the combination of those four things, you can pretty much always get a good shot. Now, if you're diving in an area where there's less light, or maybe you just want a different feel to your images, you basically have two other options. You have continuous lighting, or you have strobe photography. Now, what we have here is a good example of both. Now, I have our Panasonic GH5, which is our chase camera, and then I've got my go-to stills / video camera, which is my Canon 5D Mark IV. Now, typically when I'm shooting video underwater, I will be always shooting either ambient light or continuous lighting. Now, what we have here on my Panasonic GH5 are a set of Keldan modular lights. These are the Luna 8s, and these are super bright lights. Now, the great thing about these continuous lights, or these Keldan lights, they're very bright, and when run in conjunction with a custom white balance or even an auto white balance, you can get a great image. Now, it's not to say that you don't only use continuous lighting on video cameras. You can also use them on still cameras. And a great example of that is for you GoPro shooters out there. Now, GoPros obviously take a pretty good little video image, but they also take stills. And you cannot use a strobe flash on a GoPro. There's no way to sync it up. So for you GoPro shooters out there, you're always going to want to use either ambient light or continuous lighting. Now let's jump over to the DSLR. This rig, we can use any of them. So my go-to light source is always going to be ambient light because I like the natural feel of the water. I like the beautiful tones that we get from Mother Nature's light. Now, if Mother Nature doesn't give me enough light for that day, what I can do is I can add in my continuous lighting for video or continuous lighting for photos. And now there's an advantage for using continuous light for photos in that I can use my maximum frame rate on my camera and just fire, and I don't have to keep up with the recycle rate of my strobes. Okay, continuous lighting, it's always on. So what I'll typically do is I will custom white balance my continuous lights to my camera, and then I'll just shoot away. Now, if that doesn't work and I'm going for that really dark blue background and that scuba magazine glossy style image, then I'm definitely going to go with these strobes. So these strobes that I shoot are CNC YSD2 strobes. Now they have a guide rating of 32. They're very bright, they're very powerful strobes, and the way they work is they work in conjunction with the camera inside the housing. So you can either shoot underwater strobes in TTL mode, which means that your camera is metering the ambient light and telling your strobes how much light to fill in, or you can shoot them in manual mode, and that's the way I shoot my strobes. So I'm basically setting up my manual settings in my camera, and then I take my shot and then I adjust my strobes accordingly. So if I need more light, I turn the strobes up, or I make another manual adjustment inside my camera. I hope these tips help you guys get amazing underwater images. I'm Cayman Jason. This is the way I see it.